boxing fans here with Dev Sahni. Dev just concluded at the Artur Beterbiev Anthony Yarde press conference. How are you, mate? Because I'm sure there's, you shit your pants a little bit. Artur had a little bit of a go there.
Yeah, the reason I've been missing the last 20 minutes is I had to pop back to the hotel and and get some fresh pants. I'm all right, mate. Did you enjoy the presser?
You know what? It must be hard in your... This is what I wanted to ask you, actually. It must be hard for you when you got two fighters who are respectful. Artur doesn't talk much, but when he does talk, he means something behind them couple of words that he lets out. He had a little go at you. There wasn't much given from Anthony. He's very respectful. How did you sort of deal with that? Because I know that you want to get these clips on social media. How did you deal with it?
I love it. I love that stuff. Look, I had my concerns heading into this presser because of how cold Beterbiev has been since he's been here in the UK. I did the airport interview with him, the dreaded airport interview after they'd been off like an 8-hour flight, and he was like 1-2 word answers, nothing. And then I spoke to him at the workout yesterday, nothing. I saw him speak to all of you guys yesterday as well. Nothing. So he's not giving much away. So I thought, I've got this press conference today now as well. And Anthony Yarde ain't giving much away. He's not being particularly braggadocious. He never is. So what am I going to do with these boys? And thankfully, Beterbiev took a bit of a swipe at Dev Sahni. So, Beterbiev come for me. And that was good. It kept things moving. I think it turned into quite an entertaining press conference in the end. I think so.
No, he did, for sure, because like you said, he doesn't really say much. He hasn't never said much to us, and we had a huddle yesterday. So, talk to me about this fight. Listen, Anthony Yarde's one of your own, one of our own. British, we've seen him fight through the ranks. But Artur Beterbiev, big fighter, man. 18 wins, 18 knockouts.
It's perfect, though, isn't it? Like, if you want to become a world champion, what a way to do it. There's probably a time 3 years ago, when he fought Kovalev, he probably could have taken step-aside money from Canelo. Canelo would have then beaten Kovalev and probably vacated his world title. At that point, that vacant world title, Yarde would have had money in his pocket and also challenged some unknown guy for a vacant world title, probably in London, and become a world champion. Okay, that could have happened. He's taken the harder road. He tried to beat Kovalev. He's taken this very hard road of Artur Beterbiev. It's going to make it so much sweeter when he does do it. I love this. I love that he's taking on the challenge of the beast. I like that other people aren't so sure. Say, look, Canelo, right? Okay, stepped up to light heavyweight. He picked Bivol, right? And people are like, oh yeah, because they were both DAZN. Do you think if Canelo went to Beterbiev and said, do you want to have a fight? We'll pay you this much. Do you think Beterbiev will be like, no, I've got network problems? Do you think Bob Arum will be like, no, I've got network problems? They would make it happen 100%. So he picked Bivol because Bivol had looked a little bit flat against Craig Richards and the other fella that Callum Smith knocked out. So he looked flat. Anthony Yarde is walking right towards the fire, doesn't care, believes in himself, unwavering self-belief, and I think he's going to hit Beterbiev with something that he's never been hit with before.
He said it over there, though. He goes, I'm glad it's Beterbiev. I'm glad. Like, I've known Anthony for a long time, and he's always told me that he's always wanted the biggest fights. He's never wanted to duck a fight, and you don't get much bigger than this. Only one bigger than this, or on the same level, is Bivol, right? So when you see him here, when you hear him saying that this is a good fight, he's glad that it's Beterbiev. Sort of mindset he's in, right? Yeah,
it's great. It's elite mindset. It's chasing the king of the jungle. He thinks he's the king of the jungle, right? He thinks he's the lion and he's the king. There's another lion knocking about. His name's Artur Beterbiev, and he knows that if he wants to be the real king, he needs to get rid of this guy. And I love that. He could easily just be, a kind of like a wallflower and crack on with his career. Things that have happened along the way. Eddie Hearn coming along, Buatsi, come and fight Buatsi, trying to take him off of his path. He's known his path. His path is the unified world titles. His path is that man, Artur Beterbiev, and I love it. I'm so hyped for this fight. It's one of those fights where, even if I wasn't involved in any way, shape or form, I would be glued to everything that happens. When you're guaranteed a knockout, there's so much crap going on in boxing right now. This is proper. This is real. So I'm hyped.
Listen, everyone that I've spoken to for the last couple of months, I've been talking to pundits, fighters, promoters about this fight. There's not one person who's not excited about this fight. It's a big fight. It's going down on Saturday night. You spoke about the whole Buatsi thing, and Eddie sort of trying to push that Buatsi fight, and sort of veer Yarde a little bit left, a bit off course. What did you make of that situation? Because I know, you found that funny at that time.
He just didn't have anything for Buatsi, so he was. Look, this is just my opinion on it, right? I don't want to speak too much out of turn. In my view, he knew Anthony Yarde had a world title shot lined up, and if you have a world title shot lined up against the killer, but for 3 belts, why would you move from that position? You wouldn't. Callum Smith has a world title shot lined up. Why is he not moving from his position and fighting Buatsi? Because you don't really do that. It was just a kind of throwing shade at Yarde and make people think that he's ducking Buatsi. He's not. That fight will happen. I'm sure it will when the time is right. But right now he's got bigger fish to fry, and this is the biggest fish.
Eddie's actually spoke about this fight and he said, look, the only way Anthony wins, he's got to gamble early, try to take him out early. If not, if he does go on, it's Beterbiev's game. He's going to win the fight. What do you make of that? Yeah,
look, it was an interview with Eddie. I watched it and he's making all sorts of sense here. What's going on here? But I agree with him. I think he's bang on. His read of this fight is absolutely bang on. This is a fight where Anthony Yarde needs to do it in the first half of the fight. He needs to approach him with no fear, but still with some caution, and just be this is a kind of a hybrid of Joe Smith and Callum Johnson. Joe Smith kind of showed no fear, but he was too reckless. Callum Johnson got involved in those trade-ups, but then couldn't get the job done at the end of the day. I think if Yarde hits Beterbiev and gets him into trouble like Callum Johnson did, I think he'll finish the job. I think he's one of the best finishers in boxing.
Cool. I do want to quickly talk about 2 other things before I let you go. I know you've done the press conference and loads of interviews.
It's fun. I don't mind doing it. I'm having fun here.
I do want your reaction to the past weekend, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith. A stoppage that a lot of people didn't predict. What did you make of that?
I did predict it, because I don't know if you saw my bet. I thought enough's enough, so I stuck 5p on him. Because honestly, I expected Eubank to win. I am. Whenever a Eubank drops a cool promo or a cool line or something like that, does a good interview, I just think, and he just makes a believer out of me. So I believed he was going to beat Billy Joe Saunders. I believed he was going to beat George Groves. I've believed all along, and I've never seen him hurt. And he always just makes a sucker out of me, But I was shocked to see him hurt. I was shocked to see him getting knocked out like that and in so much trouble. It was a shocking result. With hindsight, you can look back and say, Liam Smith was always the better fighter, and maybe he was. But I thought the weight would make a difference. And in my head, George Groves is a bigger hitter than Liam Smith, and George Groves didn't make a dent in Eubank Jr. So that was my logic to thinking, well, how's Liam Smith going to do it? So it was surprising.
I actually spoke about Billy there. He's back in training. I spoke to Ben Davison, spoke to Barry Smith. Said, listen, we want to try to get him out in March, April time. Would you want to see that rematch with Eubank?
Yeah, why not? I think the press conferences will be all sorts of fun. A Billy Joe Saunders Eubank presser. There's been a few of them, and they were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I don't know how long they'd last these days. It feels like that was from a different era. That was like 2013, 2014. Some of the things, as we've learned, some of the things that could have been said back then maybe can't be said now. So I don't know about a Billy Joe Saunders Eubank presser. I think the fight's intriguing. If Billy Joe can get himself sorted and on weight, which I'm hearing he's heading towards that, then great. A fit and active Billy Joe Saunders is good news for British boxing, because he is a very, very good fighter. He's one of the best we've had recently. So it'd be a shame if he ended on that Canelo fight.
Just a final couple from myself. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. We're still waiting for an announcement. We're still hearing negotiations are there, positive at this present time, from what Tyson's saying in an interview that he's done over the weekend. Obviously, there's always been that question, not the question mark, but there's always been things coming out from Eddie Hearn why Anthony Joshua's got a better resume than Tyson Fury. So I'm going to ask you, Dave from Queensberry, give me your case on why Tyson Fury has a better resume than Adrian.
Right. Here's my thing, right? If both fighters retired today, who would go down as the better heavyweight in all-time greats? I'm not saying either of them are all-time greats right now, but say you've got that list of 100, who would rank higher? I believe that unequivocally the former or the two-time Ring Magazine champion, the lineal champion, would rank higher if they both retired today. How do you judge that? You judge that based on accomplishments and who they boxed. Resume, right? So that's my thinking. You retire them both today, Fury finishes higher because he's got a better resume. For me, it's pretty simple. That's the question boxing fans have got to ask themselves. And these guys that AJ's beat, full credit by the way, because he has got a good resume, Anthony Joshua. There's no doubt about that. But Tyson Fury would beat all of these guys. And the other thing is, the resume's slowly starting to come apart a little bit. We're seeing some of the names that used to get reeled off. Dominic Brazil, Takam, all of this, like, okay, Otto Wallin beat Dominic Brazil, Takam, okay, Chisora beat him, Pulev, okay, Chisora beat him. Things like this keep happening as it unfolds with time, and Tyson Fury's one just sort of stands up, and that no one can take away what happened in Dusseldorf that night, and beat Klitschko, beat Wilder 3 times, and Wilder in particular seems to be a guy that Anthony Joshua doesn't seem to be going anywhere near. So it's Fury.
Fair enough, but credit to both men. Obviously, Tyson Fury, champion of the world, flying the flag. Anthony Joshua, and I always say this to a lot of people that I talk boxing with, when you look at Anthony Joshua's first 15 fights or first 13 fights, he was knocking people out left, right and centre.
Let me say something on this, because the Anthony Joshua, in that Dillian White fight, he was a dog. That AJ was like, he's something else. Sticking his tongue out, coming after him. That's the AJ we need to get back. Because that AJ is great news for the heavyweight division. That guy was something else. Even in the Charles Martin fight, right? He slipped countered. He was looking the part. Something happened along the way. I think it was Klitschko and then Andy Ruiz. All these things started happening. But if he can get his mind back to that dog, just watch your old fights. Go and watch your old fights. Do something like that, because he was the guy, and maybe that guy's in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly that. Like I was saying, he's knocking people out. Exciting. When you see a lot of heavyweights coming through now, and they've got a bit of a name to them, you don't see what Joshua's done to fighters when these are fighting similar opponents. Only person that I would say has done that, and moving on to my next question, is Joyce. Joyce fought, he's fought hard from the start, going forward. We're hearing about a very, very good fight, if it's true, against Zhang. And I was in Saudi Arabia. I watched Zhang fight Hergovic. I thought Zhang won. But so if that fight is to happen, I'm not going to get any information from you because I'm not sure how much you know about it. But if that fight is to happen, talk to me about that one.
If that fight happens, that is carnage. That is you'd need to get the ring reinforced. This is just two absolute, just monsters. I guess two lumps, really. I mean, neither of them will take a backward step. And I love that. China. I mean, Zhang. It almost feels like China's answer to Joyce. He's got that granite chin. He's a bit slow. He can hit very hard. He comes a lot. I mean, he's Olympian as well. It would be a very intriguing fight. I love that. And by the way, he beat Hergovic. Just definitely beat Hergovic. There's no doubt about that. And I don't even know where that come from, because before that he hadn't looked a world beater. But that on his resume, that loss, which should have been a win against Hergovic, looks very, very good. I think he's very good. He's one of the top heavyweights in the world.
It's the final one, and the final one just with Joyce. Everyone I ask, and I know people are, sparred against him, and people who have been in opposition sides, I've asked, how much of a problem is Joyce to this heavyweight division? I'm going to ask you the same question, but a lot of people are saying he's a real deal, man.
For me, he's the second best heavyweight in the world. And you can say, yeah, but what about the resume, who's he beat and all of that? So I'm basing this on how many heavyweights do I think could beat him. And I think it's just Tyson Fury that could beat him. Wilder's got a chance as well, which is why Wilder's my number 3. I have Usika's number 4. But Joyce is a big problem. How do you beat this guy when you punch him in the face as hard as you can, and you're a heavyweight, and he just keeps coming forward? I felt sorry for Joseph Parker in that fight. He'd put on extra weight, I guess, to hit harder than ever, to try and solve the problem in front of him, to try and knock down the tree. But the tree just kept coming, and it's going to take something very special to stop Joyce. I don't know if Tyson Fury's got the power to stop Joyce. Tyson Fury would have to outbox him. The guy's got a granite chin, and his engine is remarkable. It really is only Tyson Fury that I can see out there right now who could get the better of him over 12 rounds.
Cool. Dev, Sonia, I tried to make this a short one. It did run into 15 minutes. But I do appreciate your time as always. Tomorrow you've got the weigh-in, and then the big fight on Saturday night. Looking forward to it. Dev, Sonia, thank you very much. Talk to pro boxing fans.
Cheers, mate.